The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
And welcome to the Icons of Real Estate Podcast. I'm Tim Calloway. I have a very special guest for you today. He is the private money authority, Jay Connor. Jay, how are you today?
Hey, Tim, I'm doing fantastic. And thank you so much for inviting me to come along to talk about my favorite subject, private money.
There you go. And I'm excited about it as well. I don't think there's anybody out there who wouldn't like to know more about private money and how to use it for real estate. So as we get started here, give me a little background, Jay. Tell me about how you started and where you're from and how we got to this point.
Sure. Well, my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we live here in eastern North Carolina, right on the coast in a really, really small town called Morehead City, North Carolina, population 8,000 people. Our total target market for investing in residential houses is only 40,000 people. So we don't do a ton of deals. We do 2 to 3 flips a month. However, the profits are $71,000 per deal that we're doing right now. So those numbers work out okay. We started investing in single family houses in 2003 full time. So we've been at it almost 20 years now, coming up on 20 years. And the first 6 years that we were in the business, we relied on the local bank to fund our deals. So from 2003 until 2009, that's all I knew to do was local bank, mortgage companies, whatever, funding our real estate deals. I didn't know anything about creative financing, subject to seller financing, and I for sure didn't know anything about private money until the biggest blessing in disguise came along, Tim. In fact, if it wasn't for this challenge, you and I wouldn't even be here today on your show. And so what happened is I picked up my telephone in January 2009, and you believe it or not, we still have landlines here in Morehead City, North Carolina.
Well, faithful.
Anyway, I picked up my phone in January 2009, and I called my banker. Now, my banker and I had this conversation I'm sharing with you many, many times for 6 years. I told him about 2 houses I had under contract to buy and the funding required. And Tim, I found out very, very quickly that I had lost my line of credit. I'd been shut down, cut off with no notice. And I'm going, what in the world? I asked Steve, my banker, I said, Steve, what's the problem? He says, we're just not loaning money out to real estate investors anymore these days. Tim, you may recall, since you and I look to be about the same age, you may recall what was going on in 2007, 2008, 2009. I mean, I thought I just had it made out here in the corner of the world by myself, but I was not by myself. All of us lost our lines of credit. Well, I hung up the phone and I sat here at my desk for a moment. And I thought, what in the world am I going to do? I created this new mantra that I started repeating to myself, and it's the definition and the how-to of how to never fail. I said to myself, Jay, it's impossible for you to fail unless you choose to quit. And quitting was not an option for me. I picked up the same telephone. I called my buddy Jeff in Greensboro, North Carolina. He was a real estate investor. I said, and I told Jeff what had happened. He said, welcome to the club. I said, what club? He said, the club of losing your lines of credit at the bank. I said, well, what are you going to do? How are you funding your deals? And in that conversation, Tim, that's the first time, January 2009, first time I ever heard the phrase private money, private lending, and how to use self-directed IRAs and people that have those accounts to fund your deals. I never heard of that. So I did my research, I put my program on steroids, and I started teaching people. I've never asked anybody for money. I've never asked anybody for money. I said, Jay, how you got $8.5 million in private money? You move from project to project. Because I teach people and I have taught people what private money is and how they can get high rates of return safely and securely. So in less than 90 days of being cut off from the bank, I was able to attract and raise $2,150,000 in private money for my real estate deals. And Tim, since that time, 2009, I've never missed out on a deal for not having the money.
That is amazing. And that's a true success story. And to answer your first question, yes, I do remember 2007. I remember 2008. I remember that time period. I tell you, for everybody, and especially in real estate investing, and that was the key to everything right there. It was a rough time. So it's nice. This is a great success story. It really is. I love hearing that story. Stories like that are kind of what makes all the difference. Tell me about how you find, how you find these people, or how you teach them. How can they get in touch with you, and how can others learn what you have to offer, Jay?
Sure. Well, before I share the different categories where you find these private lenders, Tim, I am so excited about the brand new private money guide that I just finished writing, called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Explode Your Real Estate Business and Help You Create Incredible Wealth. And this will put you on the fast track to getting private money for your real estate deals, whether it's single family houses or commercial, apartments, etc. And I'm so excited to give this away to your audience, Tim, for free. You can download this private money guide at www.jayconner.com/money guide. I'm an ER, not an OR. That's Jay Conner, JayConner.com/money guide. Download it, get you on the fast track. So where do you find these private lenders? Well, there's 3 primary categories of where you find them. The first category is what I call your warm market. People you've got some kind of relationship with, some kind of association. Second category is what I call your expanded warm market. I'll define that in a moment. Third category is what I call existing private lenders. How do you find individuals that are loaning money out to real estate investors and they're already doing it? Tim, I better define real quick what I mean by private money to make sure we're on the same page. Private money is not hard money. I'm not talking hard money. I got good friends that are hard money lenders and brokers. And what a hard money lender is, as I'm sure you know if you're listening to this show, a hard money lender is a broker of money in most cases. They go out and raise private money for their hard money brokerage. And they have private money lenders invest into a fund, and then they loan that money out to real estate investors for deals. I'm not talking hard money in this context of private money. A private lender is an individual, a human being, just like you or me, that loans money out from their investment capital and or their retirement funds to us real estate investors, and they get this money to get high rates of return safely and securely. So we're talking about doing business with individuals, human beings, not LLCs, not institutions, not banks. We're doing business with individuals. So let's talk about that first category for a moment. Your warm market. So your warm market is, again, anybody you have an association with. They would be in your cell phone. They would be on your email list. They would be in any kind of social media, your Facebook list. And I don't mean your fake Facebook friends. I mean people you actually know that are in your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, any social media, any other social connections you have. Who do you go to church with if you go to church? Are you in a civic group, Rotary Club? Are you in the Chamber of Commerce? Any kind of groups that you are in, all those people are potential private lenders. And there's a 99.99% chance that none of those people on your list have ever heard of private money and private lending. Perfect opportunity for you to put on your teacher hat, just like I have since 2009, to create a big problem for yourself. And that is having more money than you can spend. That's the challenge, because the money starts chasing you so quickly. So that's the warm market, people you have some kind of association with. The secondary place to find private lenders are what I call your expanded warm market. So I'll have new real estate investors or seasoned real estate investors, whatever, say, Jay, my warm market is broke. Nobody I know has got any money to lend out. Well, first of all, I don't believe them. Secondly, I think they're intimidated and don't really know how to start a conversation with a potential private lender in their warm market. But I say, whether you've got a big warm market or not, expand your warm market, get involved in your community. I just listed some of those areas. If you're not in a civic group, join it. If you're not in a networking group, such as Business Networking International, join it. I got millions of dollars just from Business Networking International, BNI.
Yeah,
So
BNI
get
is great.
involved.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah, BNI is great. It's a great resource.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's your expanded warm market. How can you grow your connections? The third category of private money lenders are existing private lenders, people that are already loaning money out. Well, how do you find those people? Well, don't do it the way I started. So I started in 2009 as far as looking for existing private lenders. I hired my real estate attorney's paralegal to search public record at the courthouse here in our local county, looking for individual names that were loaning money out secured by real estate, either a deed of trust or a mortgage. Well, that's not the way to do it. I mean, it took 90 days to find 2 people in our local area. Well, got to be a better way. Lenders, I tell you, a great place to find them are and here's a writer downer right here.
Writing it down.
Writer downer. You can find existing current private lenders that are loaning money out from their retirement funds at self-directed IRA networking events. Well, what in the world is that? First of all, here's another actionable item. To attract a lot of private money, you want to establish a relationship with a self-directed IRA company. Now, first of all, what in the world is that? Well, Tim, your listener probably knows the answer, but just in case, a self-directed IRA company is a company that's also known as a third-party custodian. And they are approved by the IRS for people that have current retirement funds of any kind, a pension, a 401k from a previous employer, could be a 401k from a current employer. If you've been there long enough, you may be able to transfer it over. Well, the IRS has approved some of these, have approved these companies to be a third-party custodian, self-directed IRA company, to where you or your private lender can move current retirement funds to their account at the self-directed IRA company. And then once their account is established, which takes a couple of weeks or so, they can then start doing what's called self-directing their retirement funds. They can loan that money out to you, the real estate investor, to fund your real estate deals. Now, the reason that's so important is right now, Carol Joy and I have got 44 individuals, private lenders, that are funding our deals. Over half of them, over 50% of them, are loaning us money from their retirement account that they have moved to a self-directed IRA company. Guess what? They never knew anything about self-directed IRAs until I taught them about it, and I introduced them to my self-directed IRA company representative to where they could learn how to move those funds over. So that's a big actionable item. If you don't have a relationship with a self-directed IRA company that you can recommend your new private lenders to move retirement funds over to, you're going to miss out on over 50% of the money available to you. In fact, prior to COVID, there was $18 trillion, that's with a T, prior to COVID, $18 trillion sitting in cash in retirement accounts. Today, this side of COVID, 31 trillion in cash is sitting in retirement funds waiting to be used. Tim, do you have a particular nationwide self-directed IRA company that you recommend to your listener?
Not particularly, but I may start right now after this podcast. I'll tell you that.
Let me tell you, I have done business with more than one self-directed IRA company. And I'll tell you the best one from my experience, hands down, that serves the nation is Quest Trust out of Houston, Texas.
Hey.
And their website is www.questtrust.com. That's with 2 T's back to back. In fact, just coming up in about a month from now, it may be past by the time you're listening to this show, but they're having a live networking event in Houston, and they're expecting 1,000 people there. Here's what's so important about networking at that kind of an event. 70% plus, 70% or more of self-directed IRA account holders have cash wanting to loan money to you, the real estate investor. Can you imagine networking with 700 other people that have got cash burning a hole in their pocket, wanting to loan money to you, the real estate investor? So that's a great place to find existing private lenders as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. This sounds like to me, and I'm enjoying this topic more than you could imagine. But and I could probably talk about it forever. But this sounds like a win-win for both sides. I mean,
absolutely
right.
Okay. We create win-win scenarios all the time, and if it's not win-win, we don't do it. So how in the world is this a win for the private lender, and how is it a win for you, the real estate investor that's wanting to borrow the money? Well, there's 3 big reasons that this is a win-win scenario for your private lender. Number 1 reason is they're going to make a lot of money. Right. They're going to make more money than they can make in any other type of traditional, investment opportunity. For example, right now I'm paying my private lenders 8%, either accruing interest and not making any payments if it's coming out of their retirement funds, because the returns are not going back to them, it's going back to their retirement account. So I'm paying them 8%. Well, compare that to the local bank at about 1/4%. Prior to the last few months, the national average was 0.17% for a 12-month certificate of deposit. It's about 1/4% now. You coming along and pay them 1/4%, that's APR. That's not monthly. That's not monthly. That's annual. In other words, you borrow $100,000. Well, 8% I would pay them is $8,000, right? 1% would be $1,000. 1/4%, $250 they're going to make on $100,000 in a year at the local bank.
Doesn't excite anybody.
No. So number 1, they're going to make a lot of money. Number 2, their investment with you on your deal is safe and secure. How's it safe and secure? First of all, we're not borrowing unsecured funds. We're protecting them. We're giving our private lender a mortgage or deed of trust, securing their note. Some new real estate investors, Tim, will say to me, well, who in the world would loan me money? What private lender would loan me money? And I've never done a deal. Well, here's the answer to that question. If you don't pay them, the property does. That's a writer downer right there. That's how they're protected. They're getting a security. They're going to get either a mortgage or a deed of trust, depending on the state that the property's in, securing the promissory note. Now, secondly, it's a safe investment for them because we're typically not going to borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value. I didn't say 75% of the purchase price. I said 75% of the after repaired value. So if I'm buying a house with an after repaired value of $200,000 and I buy it for $100,000 because there's a rehab involved, and when there's a rehab involved, it's very typical for me to buy it 50% of the after repaired value. Well, let's say I buy it for $100,000 on a $200,000 after repaired value. Let's say there's $35,000 in rehab. I can borrow up to $150,000. That's 75% of 200. So you see how I'm bringing home a big check when I just bought that house?
That's a nice check.
I just brought home a $50,000 check from buying that house, took none of my own money to the closing table. I'm going to use 35,000 of it in that example to rehab the house. I got another 15,000 to use any way I want to up front, the carrying cost, any way I want to in my business. So back to the benefit of the private lender. It's safe. So it's conservative loan to value compared to the after repaired value. It's secure because I am giving them a mortgage or deed of trust. And the third reason it's a big win for them is because their investment with us is not volatile. What in the world am I comparing this private lending program to? Right. The stock market.
Right.
I mean, is the stock market volatile? You better know it's volatile. Here's another writer downer. Their principal loan amount, the private lender's principal loan amount to us, is not volatile because it remains the same until cash out. How is that?
Wow.
I'm not making principal and interest payments. If I'm making payments, and I leave it up to the private lenders to how often they want payments, depends on their objective. I mean, even if they want monthly payments, whose money am I using to make their monthly payments initially?
Right.
Their money.
Their money. Right.
Because I always borrow more than I need to buy.
Sure.
So I let them choose. So interest only. It's a win for them because if I were making principal and interest payments, I'd be paying down part of their principal and they wouldn't have all their money invested with me on that particular deal. So we make interest only payments. Well, that's a win for them because they make more money because all their money is staying invested until that property cashes out. Interest only payments for us, the real estate investor and borrower, is because interest only payments are smaller than principal and interest payments. So that helps our cash flow. So that's three big reasons why the private lender would win. How in the world do we win? Well, that list is long, but I'm going to give you just a few short ones. Number one, you make the rules. Boy, ain't that different from borrowing money from the bank, right? So when I borrowed money from the bank, they made the rules. They decided what my maximum loan to value was. They decided what the interest rate was. They decided the length of the note. All that. Not in this world. You make the rules. In other words, we set the interest rate. We set the length of the note. We set the maximum loan to value because that's our private lending program. You see, in this world of private money, there's no application process. You are already approved as the borrower, right?
Right.
So it's not like your credit score has got nothing to do with it. Your verification of income has got nothing to do with it, right? You are teaching and offering a program to either people in your warm market or the other markets that I talked about. In addition to that, you never have to take any of your own money to the closing, as I just described. Always bring home a big check, and I get multiple checks on every transaction I do with private money. I get a big check when I buy. I get a big check when I sell. And if I sell it on rent to own, now I'm getting non-refundable lease option deposits in the middle of that process. So again, it just puts you in control, lets you sleep better at night, and you do more deals because you've got the cash burning a hole in your pocket. How much more confident and how many more offers do you think you're going to make when you've got $500,000 or $1 million in private money burning a hole in your pocket, just waiting for you to use? Imagine what's that going to feel like.
I almost can't imagine. I mean, that if someone were to ask me, hey, Tim, what's the best way for me to get into the real estate investment game? I think I just have to give them your direct line on that landline because that's more information. That very concise. I can only imagine. I'm gonna download and get your book as soon as we're done with this podcast. I can only imagine how this will change people's life, especially in kind of I would say a volatile time. You talked about the stock market, gosh, Jay, I got to tell you, I remember when I was investing in REITs and other things like that in the early 90s. I'm not going to give away our ages, but the early 90s. And
hey, I don't mind saying it. I'm 61 years old.
There you go. Yeah, I'm in the ballpark there. But I remember money market rates being at 5.5%. I mean, and they're just not there now. So this does sound like something that it's a win-win, as we said before, for both sides of it. So let's come back around again to, how can people get in touch with you? How can they find you? I know you mentioned the website before, and we're going to post it and talk just a little bit more about what they can expect from getting your book.
Absolutely. So I do have a best-selling book that came out, less than a year ago. It's called Where to Get the Money Now. It's on Amazon, about $20.
Okay.
But in addition to that, absolutely for free, I'm so excited about the money guide, private money guide that I just finished writing. You can download it for free. It's called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business. This will put you on the fast track to getting private money for your deals and never missing out and putting you in control of your business. You can download it for free right now at jayconner.com/money guide.
Man, that's fantastic. And I just want to say, you're telling me I can get your information and get this information, life-changing information, for free. And then once I get it, as long as I apply everything that you've put into there, I can get investor money without having to go to a bank. And I can invest in real estate, collect a big check, all from what's inside that book.
Yes, sir. And here's the thing.
That's
the two biggest questions I get, Tim, are how do I find the deals and where do I get the money?
Right.
So I got 50% of the answer right here.
I gotta tell you, that getting the money part, that might be more than 50%. That's my opinion. Everybody's going to be different, but I'll tell you what, if I stop somebody on the street today and I'll say, how come you're not investing in real estate right now? I would say probably 75 to 85% would say, I don't have money. I don't have the money, and or I don't understand it. And you definitely solved both those equations, I think, with what we've heard today and in your book. So I can't imagine anybody not benefiting from this. I'm definitely going to be downloading and requesting that book myself. So I really look forward to it. Well, we've kind of wind down to the end of the show. Jay, it has been a pleasure, and I'll tell you this, it has been a knowledgeable experience, and that's why I enjoyed this so much. I've learned more in the past 30 minutes than I have in quite some time, and it was really a joy speaking with you. And we're going to get this posted up for you, and we'll see you soon.
That's great, Tim. Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you very much.